Thanks very much, Rusty. Fantastic day for racing here at Sydney Motorsport Park. What a ripping weekend Sydney has turned on for round one of the Shannons Nationals and, of course, the inaugural round of TCR. Cam, you were down there in the pit lane yesterday with all the excitement of the first race for TCR. Really good inclusion to the new to the Australian motorsport landscape.
What I'm really enjoying about TCR joining us here at the Shannons Nationals, Darren, is just the way it's lifted the whole championship. And yesterday, the wonderful racing we saw from the Australian Prototype Series, we had a very clear leader in Barron out there in the orange entry, but it wasn't easy running for the rest of the field throughout. There was battles raging and bodywork flying off as we saw a couple of our drivers. I believe that was John Paul Drake that got into a bit of drama. Lauke fought very, very hard against Gonzalez, and we saw a couple of others in the battle there as well. Macris was also one of the standouts yesterday, but Darren Smith, action aplenty with the prototypes.
Yeah, John Paul Drake nearly had the beard rattled off his face when he went over the back of the ripper strip there, coming onto the straight there. Really enjoying it. They had a good yak with JP this morning. And he said, look, you come to the racetrack, even if it's a bad day, it's better than a great day at the office. So in the end, he saved a bit of a result. This was a big spin there for the number 14 of Carmelo Bonaventura. Plucked another gear, drove away with it, so they get on with it. Lots of smiles down there in the prototype paddock this morning. They're all really dead set, ready to go.
Crailsy, the first man on our socials, I spoke to him yesterday about this as well. Remember, hashtag SN19. And we'll put all of your images and tweets and other social media imagery up on our big screens and also our live stream here at the circuit. So remember to tag all of your photos and videos on Instagram and Twitter with hashtag SN19. Great to see auto action with this one. Jason Bright wins. First ever win, a history made for Jason Bright. And I know, Darren, you followed his career for a very long time, and not surprising that he's a standout early.
Yeah, right from Formula Ford through his Formula Holden days. He had a foray off to open wheeler racing in North America and, of course, success in V8 supercars. It's all been documented for quite some time. Shots of the Hyundai down there in the pit lane. A very tidy engine bay. Production-based upper end on, or basically the entire power plant on these cars, but there's a bit of aftermarket fabrication, let's say, with some pipe work there over to the airbox involved with the turbocharger as well. So great shots coming out of the TCR paddock. We've got a prototypes race heading our way. Cam, yesterday David Barron drove start to finish basically from the front in the only Chiron in the field. It's a 2006 built car, and Dave's only had it for about the last 6 years, sorting out reliability. And I can answer the question that we both were thinking of yesterday. Gee, is he going to run a championship this year? Yes, he is.
Oh, fantastic to hear. The battle, though, with him and Mark Short early on, we know that the benefit Barron's got is in Sector 1 and 3. Mark Short is at least a second quicker than him through the middle sector. It's not going to help him in the race. So what Short needs to do is get down to turn 1 first. If he can be in front by turn 2, then I think Short will be able to control this race.
Cameron, you know this as well as I do. What he probably needs to do is pull on his improved production boots and just use a little bit of biff and barge to get through. That might help him, although these cars are a tad more fragile than the Datsun he runs in improved production.
A big shout out to all of our improved production fans that are watching around the country. They do love the sport and they get behind their drivers as well. So no doubt they'll be claiming Short. Well, let's have a look at that starting grid. That's not the starting grid, we'll see.
The starting grid actually does look like this. It's David Barron over Mark Short. Will be on the front row of the grid, and this is a rolling start. John Paul Drake to Mark Lauke, John Gonzalez, Peter Padden off the row there, the first of our prototypes coming around, and here's Dave Barron on the lead in the field. Barron, Short, Gonzalez, Lauke, Padden, champion, Carmelo Bonaventura, Peter Clare, Zip Vermeister, Jason Macris, last year's champion, started at 8th yesterday, at 10th today. So watch for the charge from Jason Macris. That's the back of the gold car we're seeing there, buried down behind the number 33. He's as close as he can get to the car in front. Mark Lauke doing the same as well, rolling backwards and forwards under the back of Mark Short. Chris Perini will take to the pit lane. So the Radical Racer will take to the pit lane as we are away. Again, the orange car, the Chiron, the only Chiron in the field, drives away out in front. It's a couple of whiffs to jump in behind because Mark Short has been gazumped off the line. There's Mark Lauke in the yellow and black car, looks to the inside, covers off Mark Short, and he dives down the inside. There's not a lot of road left there, but he manages to beat the Prince LSR, the only Prince LSR in this field. and gets that spot back. Well, no, he doesn't. Mark Lauke tries to get a Molly Taylor work over on the dirt there.
So you saw the benefit for the bigger horsepowered cars over short, but he's going to be very quick through the middle here. So Barron now able to run away with it. You pictured it before, you mentioned that we've got to keep an eye on Macris, and he's flying through this field. But Short needs to clear Gonzalez. He's not able to do it just yet. Big lock up there for Barron. I think he's run off the track, and he has. So race leader now dropping right down the field. Gonzalez leads from Short.
Having a look at that car, you can see this little plumbing type fitting across the side of there. That is the secret to success of that car, the latest mod, as Mark Short now starts to get back into the front of the field, goes through on Gonzalez. So it's a Wolf relegated by the Prince. And then there's 3 Wolves behind there. They're all the turbocharged ones, 1600cc turbocharged Renault power plants, and all coming out of the Jam stable. This is not good for Dave Barron. We've talked him up. He did a lights to flag win yesterday. Last year at QR, same thing. Left front lockup there, but he looks to be having some sort of gear selection issue trying to get moving there. He certainly doesn't look like he wants to get out of the car. And this is a great battle as the move for Mark Short. Look to the left, dive down the right-hand side, and he still manages to hang on to this position. This will be interesting. It's only a 999cc car, the one out in front from Mark Short. All these others behind are 1600 turbocharged cars. So an under 1 litre NA car versus a couple of 1.6 turbocharged cars is certainly a performance gain in these cars running 2nd, 3rd and 4th. But certainly at the moment, Mark Short doing a very strong job out in front.
Big battle looming here for Macris and Lauke. That's the battle over 3rd place. Gonzalez dropping back to them. Short will be very happy at the moment. He doesn't have the straight line speed of some of the cars behind him, but he certainly has that car hooked up through the twisty 2nd sector. Look at the gap he's got now. It's over 1.5 seconds, but this is the battle for 2nd. Gonzalez dropping back into the clutches of Lauke. Macris going with him. There's Champion and Patton battling it out.
So it looks like John Paul Drake making his way through there in the number 66. His timing not being refreshed yet, but he certainly is coming through. He's gone through on the multiple Radical Australia Cup champion, Peter Patton. He's not in his own car. He's racing Kim Burke's car. Had a bit of an off yesterday, did a bit of damage. That's why we're seeing that grey front headlight cover or leading edge of that car. It's a bit of repaired work from yesterday. Here's the battle now for 2nd, 3rd and 4th as Mark Short screams down the straight. Your guess is as good as mine as how many revs that's pulling. I'm going to say 9 or 10,000 as they come screaming down the straight. These ones don't rev so hard. They're the turbocharged cars, so it's all about the torque. Macris up the inside of Mark Lauke. These guys are garage right next to each other and have been for a number of seasons now. And with Lauke slamming the door shut like that, it's lucky there's no doors between these garages, because I reckon there'd be some door slamming going on down there.
That was almost identical to the moves that were pulled yesterday by Macris on Lauke. It took him quite a long time to be able to get through, but once he was released, that car really came on towards the end of the race. So Lauke, as a result of having to, Macris, as a result of having to pull out of the move on Lauke down at turn 2, has dropped back. And we see again the leader just goes through our screen. That's 2nd place Gonzalez. He's on a charge now, fastest of all to the 1st sector. He won't be quicker than Short through the middle, 36.7. So Short's already dialed 5 tenths out of it through that middle sector.
Big shout out to Phil Hughes watching on from Melbourne, who's been part of this series since its inception in his Radical. And that Radical was to be driven with himself and Alan Simons and a couple of buddies going racing together. And Phil Hughes has continued with that program. And it's a big g'day, Phil. Can't wait to see you at the next round. We miss you here this weekend in that fantastic red and white Radical. So an omission this weekend, and a guy that really works very hard. Oh, Peter Patton slowing now. That's dramatic, because he is trying to run this car in the Radical Australia Cup. The prototype program, he had them on even footing for wanting to get the Radical stanza or the Radical class within this series, and he was leading these guys. Now these guys are all bunching up. This is Carmelo Bonaventura, Stephen Champion and Zig Vermeister. What a couple of names. We could be at Spa with those names behind the wheel this weekend. A couple of really good race car driver names out there. 14, 34 and 26. Bill Medlin just off the back of these guys. Bill Medlin been around since the very beginning of Radical Australia Cup, when it emerged on the scene within the Shannons Nationals. There's Stephen Champion in the number 34. Very stiffly sprung. Quaife type differential in these cars. So the car leading this race is a chain-driven motorbike engine type of arrangement. Then the Gonzalez, Lauke, Macris turbocharged cars with a standard type of transaxle in them as well, with a limited slip diff. These cars have got the Quaife type of differential, Radical UK built differential in them, and do a very good job indeed. Just having a look at their fastest lap now. Mark Short has got that, and in fact he is more than 1.8 seconds faster than any of the other cars out there on track. These three cars on screen now, the Gonzalez, Lauke and Macris car, this is their first race meeting. And in fact, Mark Lauke is the only one that's had any testing. He's only had 2 hours worth of testing before this weekend. So in all intents and purposes, these are basically the latest iteration of a prototype racer, what's eligible for this series. Mark Short's car is probably eligible, was first eligible about 10 years ago. So these cars will develop and will start to bridge that gap.
Lauke driving a lot more defensively down at turn 2. He's slowing the car up, which is just allowing him to position at mid-corner, which doesn't give Macris a run on him. JP Drake starting to buy in on that battle, though, as we see Patton down in pit lane. And hopefully we might be able to get a report as to what's happening down in the pit lane for Patton. But we look now to steal this battle over second place. Gonzalez almost roles reversed from yesterday, wasn't it? Macris was the one that ended up leading from Lauke, and Gonzalez have swung around now as Short's disappeared up the road. He'll probably be close to 10 seconds ahead at the end of this lap. The rest of the podium still to be decided. There's the 34 of Champion, still chasing down Bonaventura. That battle's also settled down slightly. These are the Radicals, so this is for the class. That's your class leader for the Radicals, Bonaventura. 5th outright at the moment. Good to see all 3 of them glued together.
Just noticing the back of the shot with Gonzalez, Lauke and Macris was the gold and black car of John Paul Drake. Our timing screens are telling us that JP is, now he's 5th. The timing screen has refreshed. So he is just off the back. So he's in front of these Radical guys now. Coming off the back of the grid, JP is driving a ripping race, and he's doing constantly a second, half a second, 3/4 of a second a lap faster than the other guys in very similar machinery. Of course, JP in the normally aspirating outfit.
Interestingly, the time between Short and Gonzalez is starting to drop now. Remember yesterday, Short's times dropped right back. Now, we continue to watch this battle for the Radicals here, but we'll be monitoring through the timing the leaders of this race, the outright leaders, that is. I don't think we're going to see too much of a battle amongst these 3 over the next couple of laps. They just seem to be in formation, although as I say that, Zic Vermeister ranges up onto the back of Champion.
So if you just tuned in, Dave Barron, who absolutely led from flag to flag, lights to flag yesterday, he didn't make it out of turn 6 on lap 1 with issues. And have a look at this, JP has now gone through on Jason Macris. So he is absolutely flying. It's John Paul Drake's last lap at 1:30.18, so 0.3 of a second faster than the car that was in front, and he is absolutely flying. This is one of the best drives we've seen of John Paul. We've seen him do some rippers. Oh, there's smoke and stuff flying out the back of this car. That's a tyre destroying itself off the back of this car here. This is the defending champion, Jason Macris. What a shame. What a shame. That has popped the tyre and it's torn the inner guard out. And it was all too late for him to make it into pit lane, so he's going to have to crawl all the way around to try and get this car and hopefully not cause any more damage. There's the tyre absolutely flattened off the back of this car.
Much like we saw happen to Drake yesterday. So that'll be the end of Macris's race, well, in terms of being in contention for a podium. But Drake continuing further up the field as we watch Macris make his way back to the lane. Drake, personal best to the first sector. The gap between himself and Lauke just up the road for that final spot on the podium is down to 5.6 seconds. So there is plenty of time with just over 11 minutes remaining in this race as we go back to our battle for second in the Radical class, champion from Furmeister. Barron's been able to get his car up and running again. He's back out on track. Well, he never came off track. I wonder what that was though, Darren. He definitely locked that front left and then parked it down there. I was fearing some form of seizure, whether it be a gearbox or something else within the car, but he's continuing around as we see the debris on track.
Right in the middle of the track there, Dave Barron, and going through there is Gonzalez, split that. So Barron got going. He's actually off the lead lap, so he's just letting these leaders through. So he'll be just circulating to grab whatever potential points he might be able to grab, and also, I guess, feel out the car to see where it is.
Yeah.
He's going to have a charge from the, I'm going to say, mid to rear of the field for the final race of this weekend. So that'll be one to watch.
So the way that car's driving, the fact it is driving is a great sign. You'd suggest maybe some form of gearbox issue. Might not have a gear or two, may actually be driving around in the one gear because he's not looking overly quick out there when we know that car is exceptionally quick.
Dave Barron, we've got a long history in this sort of racing, Sports 1300 type racing, raced against the likes of Rick Kemp and Grant Taylor right back in the day when the Sports 1300 racing was right at the top of Australian motorsports. He's been at it for a long time, very experienced racer, knows how to do it, certainly knows how to set up this Chiron, which was built in the UK over 15 years ago. These cars here are only a year or so old, not even that. So he's doing a great job to be, out in front with these cars. But these guys are actually fighting it out for second position because at the moment, Mark Short, 9.5 seconds clear of the field out in front in the Prince LSR, the South Australian. In fact, there's quite a lot of South Australians in this field. They really do fill the entry list with South Aussies. They've really taken to the prototype racing very strongly in South Australia. The Jam Motorsport team, of course, probably part of that. They're based in Adelaide. These two here, Mark Lauke, multiple winner of the Australian Prototype Series. Doing a tremendous job staying with Gonzalez. Gonzalez in the GB08 Tornado. Same as Mark Lauke, and I get the feeling that Mark Lauke hasn't got much to throw at Daniel Gonzalez at the moment, and I don't think Daniel Gonzalez got much more to throw at Mark Lauke to keep him behind him. Here's Barron, currently being shown on lap 7 in 10th place, and there's the car of Jason Macris getting the puncture, and as you can see, it was only a matter of 100 metres past the pit entry, and he's had to limp it all the way back around to pit lane to get that car back out on track potentially. But Jason Macris in title defence mode, and at the moment he's in trying to drag something result from this race meeting mode, as he's two protagonists out of the same team at Jam Motorsport are now currently sitting second and third in the race as Mark Short streams down the straight here with a very healthy lead. 9.3 seconds last time round. Has he grown that this time around? These two cars come across the line. It's exactly 9.3 seconds. Still 8 minutes left in this journey, and here comes Jason Macris back down the pit lane now to rejoin the field. So let's hope that get back out there and drag some sort of points out of it, bring the car to the line to be able to do so.
Day for you yesterday, of course, with Tony getting pole position, finishing in second, John finishing in 6th. Overall, pretty happy?
Yeah, look, overall pretty happy. I feel for John a little bit. He got caught out by that red flag yesterday in qualifying. On the flip side, that helped Tony. So, he managed to have another run at the end, and John was on his lap. So, at the end of the day, very happy with our drivers and the team, way we performed. Plenty of points in the bag, and we'll build on that again from today, hopefully.
Many changes overnight?
Always changes. Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect race car, is there? So, we've made a few changes for longevity, hopefully, and also for a little bit of speed. So, we'll see if we can give Bridie a bit of a rattle up there at the start and see what we can do.
Good luck, big day.
Thank you.
Great to hear from David Wall down there in the pit lane. Spoke to David yesterday. He mentioned that John Martin actually has the pace of Tony D'Alberto, and if not for that red flag late yesterday, they felt that he could have qualified better. So watch for John Martin today. And Darren, another one, you watched his career early on alongside me when he was a Cam's Rising Star driver, and they used to hang around our garage. There's annoying kids now. They're unbelievable race car drivers.
International race car drivers. Paul Laskazeski, big shout out to Lasker. His career didn't quite take the same path as John Martin. Certainly could have, but John Martin was, of course, still is an exceptional race car driver. Can't wait to see how this season pans out with him. Of course, he was a dab hand with Liam Talbot down running the Porsche over the last couple of seasons in GT, and an international racer of note is John Martin, so he's certainly one to watch out for in TCR. Back with live pictures here for the Australian Prototype Series as we look back down through the field. This is Bill Medlin. He's been around some time in the Radicals, got the latest iteration of that, and Michael Whiting riding beside. These guys have raced against each other often when they roll the Radicals out on track, and right in behind Bill Medlin now is Michael Whiting. Great to see Michael Whiting pushing hard. Had a tough couple of years, and good to see him back out there, really enjoying it in the Taylor Collision Radical, and he's currently sitting in that class 5th in this race. He's got Perini and Padden behind him, two of the biggest names, in fact the biggest names in Radical Australia Cup that have withdrawn from this race. Now they've got a Radical race coming up very, very quickly after this, so that might be why that they've pulled out. There is a Porsche race in between, so they may have some preparation, and they're probably favouring the Radical Australia Cup, being that both of them are on the front row of the grid. Have a look at this battle, Cam. What's this? How's this going to play out? It's been like this now for the best part of 20 minutes. These two, I don't even think they're feeling each other out. I think they're both just going as hard as they possibly can, and there's no challenges being able to be thrown, being the machinery's identical.
It's interesting. You're spot on amongst these two drivers. Lauki needs to become a little bit more aggressive, oversteer. That really highlights your point, Darren, that these two are laying it all on the line. There is nothing left in reserve at the moment, and it looks as though Lauki's using up everything he's got just to try and run with Gonzalez. Gonzalez in control at the moment. Short is definitely in control. He's 10 seconds up the road from these two, but Lauki struggling to keep that car under control.
Lauki's opened up the kit bag and he said, what have I got in here? He's rummaged around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it around with absolute abandon, see if I can get onto the back of Gonzalez. And it's worked, because all Gonzalez is seeing is yellow and black streaming around. Have a look at this down the inside. Has Macris seen them? He's only just rejoined the track after having a puncture. So the two light cars go through. Big plume of smoke out of the back of Gonzalez, and Lauki through. So as we said, Cam, one of them had to throw something different at it. Mark Lauki gave it the old, well, I'm going to win it or bin it. And it's worked for him. Have a look at him, the veteran in behind there. Eyes wide open inside. Great shot there from our Nationals cameraman. Great shot right into the helmet there of Mark Lauki. Eyes wide open, and an absolute ripper of a competitor. He actually loves his fellow competitors. He does go around and he talks to everyone, and really does love a race weekend. Runs a reasonably sized, it is the big business, Lauki Flower Mills. And comes racing. There's real lock-up again. So they're both trying.
That's what we saw yesterday from Lauki as well. He's really struggling to get the car turned in at turn 2, or even just stopped into turn 2. And it gave Gonzalez a sniff, a bit of a chance, and I think he's back in here. Gonzalez hooking onto the rear wing of Lauki. The battle over second spot in the Australian Prototype Series Race 2.
11 here. Look at that exhaust coming out of the cowling there, so they're not exiting the side of the car or out the back. Sort of sports car style, I guess, LMP1 style. The exhaust coming out of the most ideal spot for performance rather than somewhere else in the vehicle, but leaving big stains down the side of the car there. Lauki, and even hearing a little bit of that wastegate noise as well coming off the turbos. So that adds an extra dimension as well.
It's interesting to note the varying race lines both of these cars are taking. Lauki a lot narrower on the corner. That was a lock up on the front left. Great shots on this high definition coverage with the live stream today. Remember, we'll be live on SBS for the TCR races 2 and 3 this afternoon.
This is Michael Whiting going around in his Radical. Gathers it all up there, chasing down Bill Medlin. Back here with position 2 and 3 on the road. This is where the battle has been right throughout this race. Go back now to Camelo Bonaventura, Stephen Champion and Zick Furmeister. 1, 2 and 3 on the road as part of the Radical class. We're wondering where Phil Hughes would be fitting in on all of this if he'd made it to Sydney here this weekend. See you at the next round, Phil. Looking forward to seeing his car. Done a fair bit of work with the exhaust on that car. Does sound a lot different to some of the other radicals, so to see some development going into it as we cross down to pit lane for Emma Francesco.
Just catching up with Max Vidal ahead of his race, up and down for you yesterday, a win and then a DNF. What's the strategy for this one?
Yeah, we got pretty decent tyres for this one, so just go out there, do the job, and see how far up we can get.
Couldn't beat these conditions, hey?
Yeah, it's perfect weather for it, so we should be on for a good race.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Rapid young driver there, Max Vidal. I'm looking forward to seeing that drive from the rear of the field. He's in a championship hunt, or he's certainly got aspirations to win the championship, and that DNF yesterday, the failure of the clutch, and that was confirmed overnight. Mike Henry, I caught up with him and said it was a clutch failure. Friday just stayed on the limiter just a little bit too long. But what they really enjoy at the Shannons Nationals and GT3 Cup and other categories we've got here is the opportunity to learn and the opportunity to develop young talent.
Massive commitment from the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge, $300,000 worth of junior talent program. That's huge. That's from a manufacturer. A massive result, and it's proving good for them because we've got a few young blokes doing great for them. Matt Campbell, follow him on Facebook. He's racing somewhere in the world every weekend. Couldn't be more jealous if I tried.
No, exactly right. Also developing young Kiwi talent over here in Australia. We like to claim them all. As we look to the final 10 seconds before this field will see the checkered flag. And the checkered flag, I believe, might be at the ready because our leader, Mark Short, will not be here because we've now gone time certain. So we've finished our time certain and we should be very close to a checkered flag. I'm not sure Gonzalez has the car to threaten Lauke for second place.
Mark Lauke's actually turned it up a bit in the last couple of laps, albeit the last time there, Daniel Gonzalez was about 0.1 of a second. But 3 laps prior, Mark Lauke was faster. That's really not a striking position there unless Mark Lauke gives up another locked-up car. Here comes Mark Short in the aging Prince LSR. Age shall not weary this thing, though. Charges down the straight. There is the checkered flag, and Mark Short takes race 2 of the Australian Prototype Series at Sydney Motorsport Park. He's very happy indeed there. He didn't think that he'd be able to do that. Here comes second and third. A great battle. Mark Lauke, welcome back to the podium in a car that is not ideally set up to him. It is still way too stiffly sprung. And here comes JP from the back of the field. John Paul Drake into position number 4. Drives it down the straight. What a great sign. Let's see how he can go in the final race for the weekend with the prototypes, which will be not too far away for this weekend. As we see them come down to take the finishing race for this round for the prototypes. So Mark Short doing a tremendous job. A really, really strong result there for the prototypes. Certainly sends a signal to the rest of the field that he's pretty serious. That's Dave Barron and Mark Short that have been part-time competitors in this championship. Send a signal to the full-time guys, which have lined up behind them with Gonzalez Drake as well. So Mark Short to Mark Lauke, the marks on the 2 top steps of the podium for this race. Daniel Gonzalez, John Paul Drake, what a ripping drive from the back of the field. Camelo Bonaventura, Stephen Champion, Zick Vermeister coming home there. Phil Medlin, Michael Whiting and Dave Barron ultimately home. They're in 10th place. The Radicals being won by Bonaventura, Jason Macris rounding out the back of the field. Chris Bruni to Peter Padden there as well, who didn't actually get the checkered flag at the end of this one. They jumped away nicely, and Dave Barron had a ripping start. The Chiron is well and truly gripped up underneath him, but it was the big charging drive there by Daniel Gonzalez and Mark Lauke right around the outside that gazumped Mark Short. There's the smoke as we watched Dave Barron, yesterday's dominant race winner, just withdrawing from that race. And here was the change for the lead, and the number 16 stuck it all the way to the very end, ultimately with a 10.5 second lead for Mark Short in the Prince LSR. Here comes John Paul Drake going through on last year's champion Jason Macris, as we saw literally the tyres fall off that car going down the main straight. Really big shame, Jason Macris not being able to get back into the pit lane. Ultimately got out and did finish the race, as we see Michael Whiting go around. He had a great run with Bill Medlin. And there goes Mark Short to take victory in the Australian Prototype Series.